Hello witchy people. So this is the first one of a new instalment that I'm hoping to keep going, called the Mundane Magical Mondays. And all it is, it's about putting ritual and magic back into every day, and some of the things are going to be really obvious. So for this first one, I thought I'd sort of have more of a generalization of maybe what I might talk about and things that I do. Now, there are obvious ways to put magic into the mundane and make the everyday special. And it's really hard to do for a lot of people, especially like if you're feeling low or you're a bit blue, you know, it's just, it can get difficult to think about being magical all the time. So how do we get that sort of like witchiness back into our lives, not just our practice but our lives? And like I said, you start off with some really obvious things, like when you sweep the floor. It's a magical thing that you do. You know, you can sweep a certain direction, sweep out the bad luck. You put the intent in, and I think a lot of that is what a lot of it is putting the intent into what you're doing in a magical way, like when you do sweeping. Now the thing is, you can do that when you're doing the hoovering as well, or should I say the vacuuming. When you're using the vacuum cleaner, you can do the same, or a carpet sweeper, you know, and you don't have to have a lovely big witchy broom. I mean, I have a lovely, beautiful besom. I have a beautiful one, and it's up on my wall. It's not even decorated yet, but I don't actually use it on the floor because it's too nice for that. I know that eventually it will get worn down, and I don't want to ruin it, so I just use a normal, you know, kitchen broom or a dustpan and brush, and you use that the same as you use a besom. So don't think that just because you're using something perhaps more modern and mundane that you can't use that in exactly the same way as you would do if you were using it in a magical way, a magical item, a spiritual item if you like, in a spiritual way. Now, like I said, some things like that are really obvious, but you probably do a lot of magical thinking and magic every day without even realising it. And part of that is ritual. And one of the things that I've noticed that I do a lot is I only stir my coffee in one direction, and I stir it a certain amount of times. I'm incredibly fussy on how many times, and it may be partly down to my own superstitions and, you know, being a bit paranoid about things. I don't know. It may have something to do with the fact that I suffer with OCD. Not so much now. You know, I think once you do have OCD, you always have it, but sometimes you control it a lot better than at other times. And mine is very much under control. Which is a funny thing to say about OCD, if you think about it. Anyway, off on a tangent. So, yeah, things like I stir my coffee in a certain direction, and I stir it a certain amount of times. And then and a lot of this is to do with housework, I must admit. Though you can, like I say, you can make anything magical. So another way to put the magic into the mundane is when you're if you're dusting and you're cleaning. So when you're dusting, what you use can be important. The cloth you use can be important. And once again, the intent you have as you're polishing and wiping up, that can also become magical. Now this does seem like a lot of effort, granted, and it's not. It really isn't. And I know I can seem a bit, what's the word I'm looking for? It can seem a bit contrived, but it really is easy. And once you get your head around the fact that anything you can do can be magical, it becomes magical. You make it so. So, and it's simple things like when you get dressed, you know, or when you tie your laces, you know, all sorts of things. You can put a magical spin on it to make it more magical and to make it mean something in your life. Now, there are a lot of things you may do that you may not want to. I mean, when you're cleaning your house, like I say, for instance, when you're doing sweeping, you are sweeping out bad luck, you're sweeping out negativity. With my coffee, it sounds really strange. I think my coffee tastes better if I stir it in a certain direction and a certain amount of times. For me, it works. It makes my coffee a bit of a magical brew, and it makes me feel better. It tastes better. I like it better. When you're doing cleaning, dusting and polishing, you can think of it as depending on what you use, of course. I mean, when I have laminate wooden floor. It's like wooden tiles, really thin laminate. And we had a real problem after we had the house redone, that the dust was so ingrained in the tiles, it seemed to stain them permanently. So I made up a mixture, and it was a bit of an experiment, but I figured if they were ruined anyway, what the heck. So I made up a mixture of some essential oils, scented, that I felt would add something magical to the home. Anyway, so I used a lot of citronella and a little bit of basil as well. What else did I use in it? It's been quite a while now, but I mixed it up with some oil, and I started cleaning and buffing the floor with it, and it really brung up the floor beautifully. You also get then the scent, which was really nice. And as you walked through the foyer, and it's a tiny little foyer, it's not anything posh, into my tiny little hallway. I have a tiny little house. It made people feel welcome, and that was part of it. I was burnishing in to the home a magical sense that people would feel welcome and, you know, loved and wanted in the home. Now, when you're cleaning and, you know, actually cleaning off surfaces rather than buffing them and polishing them, you can do the opposite. Rather than imbuing something into the home, you can think about, you're taking germs out. Yes, that's what you're doing basically, but you're taking out some danger from your house, because germs are dangerous. And if you think about things in that way, they do become magical. So you make the mundane magical. And like I said, this is what this series is going to be about. How much I think about this and put into it. I'm hoping to do it every Monday. I may do it once a month on a Monday. We'll see how it goes. But like I said, it's about how you can put the magical into the mundane. And if you have any suggestions and things that you do that I can sort of add to this, I'd be really interested. It would be so much fun. Put it in a comment, and I would love to hear how you make the mundane and everyday magical, and I shall talk about it on a Monday, because it's an M, and that is definitely flows better. So there you go, that's it for now. So like I say, just anything that you do that adds a bit of magic to your life I think is important, and we'll talk about this some more. Thank you for watching, witchy people. I'll be back soon. Bye for now.